From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the daily news for May 8th, 2026, and these are the stories we are reporting at this hour. The United States is not looking at imminent military action in Cuba despite Trump threats, according to AP sources. The United States is not looking at imminent military action against Havana despite President Donald Trump's repeated threats that Cuba is next, and that American warships deployed in the Middle East for the Iran conflict could return by way of the island, U.S. officials say. The officials involved in preliminary discussion with Cuban authorities also told the Associated Press that they are not optimistic that the communist government will accept an offer for tens of millions of dollars in humanitarian aid, 2 years of free Starlink internet access for all Cubans, agricultural assistance, and infrastructure support. But they say Cuba has not yet outright refused the offer, which comes with conditions that the government has long resisted, even after the Trump administration imposed new sanctions Thursday on Havana. And the officials who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss the private talks say there is still time for the government to accept. They cautioned, though, that Trump could change his mind at any time and that military options are still on the table. In other news, Tennessee is enacting new U.S. House map, carving up majority black district in Memphis. Amid raucous protests Thursday, Republicans in Tennessee enacted a new U.S. House map that carves up a majority black district in Memphis, reshaping it to the GOP's advantage as part of President Donald Trump's strategy to hold on to a slim majority in the November midterm elections. The final Senate vote unfolded as demonstrators chanted loudly in the galleries and hallways. Democratic State Senator Charlene Oliver stood on her desk in the Senate chamber holding a banner denouncing the redistricting as a Jim Crow effort, then clapping and dancing. Other Democratic senators linked arms in front of the chamber. Republican leadership quickly adjourned the special session, sending the new map on to Republican Governor Bill Lee, who promptly signed it into law. Protesters in the galleries also had disrupted the Republican-led House as it voted for the new map, yelling, chanting, and blowing air horns. In the hallways, others shouting protesters were held back by Tennessee state troopers. We'll have a special report about the redistricting this weekend on Stand With Pride at 11 on PEP Radio. Next up, federal court rules against new global tariffs Trump imposed after loss at the U.S. Supreme Court. A federal court ruled Thursday against the new global tariffs that President Donald Trump imposed after a stinging loss at the Supreme Court. A split three-judge panel of the Court of International Trade in New York found the 10% global tariffs were illegal after small businesses sued. The court ruled 2-1 that Trump overstepped the tariff power that Congress had allowed the president under the law. The tariffs are invalid and unauthorized by the law, the majority wrote. The third judge on the panel found the law allows the president more leeway on tariffs. If the administration appeals Thursday's decision, as is expected, it would first turn to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the federal circuit based in Washington and then potentially the U.S. Supreme Court. At issue are temporary 10% worldwide tariffs the Trump administration imposed after the Supreme Court in February struck down even broader double-digit tariffs the president had imposed last year on almost every country on earth. Those tariffs, invoked under Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974, were set to expire July 24th. As additional commentary on this, we haven't had this many tariffs in the United States since President Herbert Hoover. And in Pennsylvania news, John Fetterman shuts down party switch speculation in an op-ed. Working across the aisle is the only way forward. Democratic Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania said he won't change his party affiliation to Republican, writing in an opinion piece for the Washington Post that working across the aisle is the only way forward. In the article, Fetterman said he has no plans to leave, but highlighted a fractured Democratic Party, stating Democrats cannot simply be the opposite of whatever President Donald Trump says. My values have not changed, and I have always turned to those kinds of ideals that define being a Democrat. I remain strongly pro-choice, pro-weed, pro-LGBT, pro-SNAP, pro-labor, and even pro-ribeye over bio-slop, he wrote. The op-ed comes after reports to outreach from some Republicans, including President Donald Trump, to lure him to switch parties or become an independent, a move that could affect the 2028 Senate race in exchange for conservative support. John, Senator Fetterman, seriously, you aren't working across the aisle. You are sitting in multiple seats on the opposite side of the aisle. You make Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin look like amateurs. That's the news for this hour. PEP Radio is available on the Live 365 app, the PEP Radio page at paequality.com, Roku, Alexa, or wherever you get streaming video and radio. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.